from every angle. She rises above it all, the backbone of every home. Nothing compares to all she do. The true meaning of every family. She's the glue. Yeah. Where would we be without you? You brought us Martin, Malcolm, and Obama. Yeah, and Jesus too. Oh, she's sophisticated, strong, simply amazing, humble, honest, and helpful, educated, ebony, eccentric, empowering. She's a queen, she's a queen. You better treat her like a queen. Oh, Her strength is amazing. Life inside, 9 months she's carrying. Back to work, cause the family she's carrying. Society don't give her just due, but she prevails and stands tall. A champion, a true woman. But nothing compares to all she do. Yeah, the true meaning of every family. She's the glue. Yeah, oh. And where would we be without you? Yeah, you brought us Martin, Malcolm, and Obama, and Jesus too. Oh, she is sophisticated, strong, yeah, simply amazing, humble, honest, and helpful. Not only that you are educated, yes you are, eccentric, empowering. You're mine, she's a queen. You're mine, you're my. Treat her like no price could be put on how much she's worth. So valuable, she's the soul of the earth. Yeah. All a part of God's genius plan. Powerful as she can be, the man's H-E-L-P. Yes, sophisticated, strong, simply amazing. She is humble, honest, and helpful. What I like about her is she's educated. She's my ebony, empowering. Yeah. She's my queen. Sophisticated, strong, simply amazing. She's amazing to me. Humble, honest, if you ever had one. She's educated, she's my queen. She builds me up, she keeps me going. Sophisticated, strong, she's my queen. Simply amazing. She's simply amazing. She is, oh my, she's my queen. Educated, ebony. She's educated and she's empowering. She is my queen.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk with Bishop R.C. Blakes. R.C. is an author, empowerment teacher, and the proud pastor of the New Home Ministries of New Orleans, Louisiana, and Houston, Texas. His message circles the globe. His conversational and candid approach to challenging content makes him a relevant voice to all generations. Get ready for a life-changing transformational conversation.
Hello, this is rcblakes, and I'm so glad that you tuned in today. If you don't mind, invite some others to come in and to share with us today. I think this discussion today is going to help a lot of women. And if we have some brothers in here today, I'd like you to amen if you feel like I'm telling the truth to the sisters. I want to start by saying, before I get into all of that, I was recently on a United Airlines flight from Houston to Birmingham. And when I was getting off, there's this dear little Asian flight attendant that looked up at me and she said, "You look like R.C. Blakes." And then she realized it was me. And she held the line up and she just hugged me. And I hugged her back. She hugged me again. I hugged her back. She hugged me again. I hugged her back. Her name is Judy. And I was so sorry that the situation didn't allow for me to really spend some time. But that just really overwhelmed my heart to receive that kind of love. And so I don't know if Judy, she watches the channel. So if she happens to watch this, I hope she's blessed, because you certainly blessed me. I never take that lightly. But now let's get into this. I want to talk today about how a woman wisely recognizes and responds to relational game. How a woman recognizes and responds to relational game. A dear heart asked me recently to continue to do some content where I would, as a man, as a father, as a brother, as an uncle, as a pastor, just kind of break down the how-tos. How should a woman walk in the world under, within the framework of certain scenarios? And so this is somewhat of a reply to that request. How does a woman recognize and respond to relational game? Because understanding some of the things that I'm going to share with you today is the difference between living a healthy life as a woman versus needing therapy. It's the difference between, heartbreak and maximized potential. The first thing you have to understand, and this is just par for the course. The first thing you have to understand is you shouldn't even be out here in the streets pursuing a relationship if in your feminine heart you feel like you need one. If you feel like you need a relationship for identity purposes or for value purposes, you realize that you are too vulnerable to even play the game, right? There's some stuff broken in you, and you need to do like the injured athlete. You need to sit on the sideline and you need to heal. That's the first thing you need to understand. The second thing you need to understand is that most of the men you're going to deal with out here in these streets are attempting to deceive you. Most of the men. You see, this is why, I don't understand why it's hard for women to understand that you can't do the same thing as men do, that men do, and think you're going to have healthy outcomes. Men enter into the relational space with, most men enter in with their purest intent is to have sex. When women enter into the relational space, your purest and most honest intent is to find your forever. So we're on two different ends of the spectrum here. And so a woman has to approach relationships differently than men, because a woman has put more emotional value, more emotional stock on the line. If it doesn't work for the man, he moves on to his next conquest. If it doesn't work for the woman, her heart is fractured, maybe even crushed. Now, she may walk off and try to act like, it doesn't bother me, but it does bother you. because you were not designed by the Creator to just be in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out of all of these different relationships. And if you don't understand the things that I'm going to share with you today, more than likely you will be deceived over and over and over again, because um, most men, and I know I usually get trying to get my notes together here. I usually get blasted for this, but most men are lying. I think if you line 100 men up, 99 are probably lying. You know, if you get the number down to 98, you're having an exceptional day. And so a woman has to be careful, cautious, wise, and intentional when it comes down to her interactions with men. The Bible says in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 37, and this is the Passion Translation, it says, "A simple yes or no will suffice. Anything beyond this springs from a deceiver." And that's the thing that women get the least of from men, is a simple yes or no. Men always push the woman into the gray area, and then he confuses her and he deceives her. Either he omits something, or he exaggerates something, or he just outright tells an untruth. And because the woman, if the woman is not whole and healthy, and if the woman is desperate for a relationship, a desperate woman is prone to believe even the things she knows are lies. You will psych yourself into believing it when the Bible says anything that's not a simple yes or no comes from a deceiver. And in 1 John chapter 4 and verse 1 says, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world." Not only is this principle true in terms of spiritual interactions, but it's also true in terms of relational interactions. You should have a process whereby you can judge, you can discern between what is right, what is wrong, what is truth, what is a lie. You should not be so gullible as a woman to believe everything somebody tells you. And so there are a few things that I want to share with you today that I guess these would be statements that men make that I want you to be aware of and at least pay attention to. Not to say that, these statements will always be made by deceptive men, and that a good man will never ask these things or say these things. But in most cases, when you hear these things, it's coming from a place of deception. A man has some ulterior motive behind this particular statement, and he's trying to, with his language, manage you and steer you into a certain position where he may extract certain information whereby he may manipulate you, right? And here's the first one. You're dating a guy, you're on the first date. Yeah, this is first date type stuff. And a guy says to you, "Okay, well, what do you do? In terms of what do you do for a living?" And there's nothing wrong with asking that, right? Sometimes we ask that question um, just to continue the conversation, to make small talk that leads to something else, and then we land on something that's significant, and we can, you know, grow the conversation from there. So there's nothing wrong with the guy saying, "Well, what do you do?" But if he follows it up with, after you answer him, if he follows it up with, "Well, what does that pay?" 99.9% of the time, that is a red flag for a man to ask you not only what do you do, but then to ask you, what does that pay? He's fishing for, in most cases, if a guy asks you, well, what does that pay? You do this, okay, so how much do you make doing that? In most cases, he's fishing for a financier. He has something, he wants you to invest in, or he hears cha-ching, he's a feminine man and he's ready to cash in on, your big paydays. He's fishing for a financier, or he's searching for a come up, or he's searching for a mother figure. And why that's so harsh. That seems so drastic. I've been a man in process for 58 years. I know what I'm talking about. A masculine man does not care about your career or how much money you make or what your paycheck looks like. He may ask you, what do you do, just for the sake of making conversation. But a masculine man is never going to ask you, well, what do you make? You know why? It's because a masculine man that would make a great leader, that would be the kind of man that you can respect, and the kind of man that you can follow, and the kind of man that won't be intimidated by whatever you do or however much money you make. He's not asking you how much you make, because a masculine man, he either has the resources to sustain us, y'all, or he has a plan that is presently attached to a particular grind, that's attached to a particular vision. He's already working on it. You know what I mean? He doesn't need you to give him a vision. He doesn't need you to give him a grind. He doesn't even really need you to give him a plan. He already has these things in place. So he's not really concerned about how much money you make, because he's already in the process of becoming the kind of man that will be able to handle his business anyway. And so it's always a red flag if a man asks you, what do you do? How much do you make? You got to start looking at him. You got to start looking at him sideways once he asks you something like that. 1 Timothy 5:8 says, but if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Well, here you have, these are old school principles of manhood. This is what I call classic masculinity. This is kingology right here. A man's man is the kind of man that has a mind to provide for his own, even in seasons where his woman may help him. He understands, he views her financial participation in the family as help. He doesn't view that as an entitlement. Come on now. He's constantly growing and he's getting there. And so a man that is worthy of you is never asking you how much you make. Never. Now, here's some rebuttal questions. If a man were to make that statement to you, here's some rebuttal questions. Let's call this a father-daughter talk type thing. If a man says to you on a first date, okay, ask you a question, okay, what do you do? Okay, well, I'm a this or I'm a that. I do this or I do that. And then he follows up with, well, what does that pay? How much money do you make? Your follow-up question should be, why would you want to know how much money I make? Why would that be important to you? And you're going to do this with a smile on your face, a pleasant demeanor. You're going to stay in your feminine, Why would you want to know how much money I make? And you're going to look him directly in the eye, you see, because questions reveal motives, and queens always ask questions that only kings can answer. And so when you start asking questions, you weed out the clowns. So your first question is going to be, why would you want to know how much I make? And then you're going to ask him, are you comfortable sharing how much money you make and where you work or what you do? How much money do you make? May I ask you? And then you change the subject and you go on to something else. But pretty much at that point, it's almost about 90%. It's almost 90% certain that you don't necessarily have a guy that's on the kind of frequency that's going to be able to transition into the relational outcome you're going to need. Number two, okay, now here's a big one here. You're going to have to stop jumping so fast when a man says to you after a few dates, you know, here you done got all sexy, you looking your absolute best, and you know, all that, you going out with him, and man tells you, I think I love you. You know, y'all been going out for, you know, a month. You know, I don't know, something about you. I think I love you. See, you have to understand that this is intended. When a man just randomly throws that I love you thing out there, number one, you can't believe that, excuse me, most of the time a man says that to you. You can't believe it. This is intended to overwhelm the woman's discernment, to overwhelm, to overload the woman's intelligence. And the desired impact is to shift the woman into a euphoric emotional state that causes her to suspend her values and relax her boundaries. You see, because he's already done enough investigation of you. You see, men do their investigation on the front end so they can figure out where all of the weak spots are, where all of the aspirations are, where all of the expectations and desires are. Then they create a character around what they know you desire. Women do your investigation after the fact, after you've given him your life, after you've given him your body, after you've had babies for him. Now you want to play detective. You should have played detective in the beginning, and you would have found out all of this stuff that would have sent you on, you know, with your life, as opposed to getting all caught up in this soul tie. But men investigate, and they know what you want to hear. And so he knows that if I use these three words, especially if it's been hard to get you into the bed, we've been going out, you've been looking good, but you've avoided having sex with him. And he's invested time and money. Now he throws these words out there. I love you. I think I love you. I think I'm falling in love with you. It'll probably be said more like that. I think I'm falling in love with you. You see, the kryptonite to a woman's virtuous resolve, your desire to hold on to certain things because of your values. The kryptonite to that, you remember, kryptonite is the thing that robs Superman of his strength. Well, the woman's kryptonite to her virtuous resolve are the words of a man saying, I think I love you. Think I'm in love. I love you is the most deceptive phrase. It can be the most toxic phrase known to man. I love you can be everything from a polite greeting between casual acquaintances, you know, like people at church that really don't know one another, but you see one another every Sunday. We have a tendency in church culture to say, I love you. God bless you. Y'all have a wonderful day. Love you. Don't know where these people live, don't even have their phone number, but you see them every week. And so it's really just a casual kind of acquaintance. I guess you can call it church relationship if you would, but you don't really know these people intimately. I love you can go from a casual acquaintance to a lifelong exclusive commitment, and everything in between. When a woman who is interested in a man hears the words, I love you. See, if you dressing up and you going out with a man every week or twice a week, and you've spent a month with this man, you spent 6 weeks, 8 weeks with this man, and y'all haven't had sex, you're clearly interested in the man, because women don't go out with men they're not interested in. Unless you're just a treacherous woman and you're going out with him for his money or whatever. That's a whole different ball game right there. But decent women with queen consciousness do not continue to go out with men they're not interested in. So the mere fact you continue to go out with this man means that you see something there. And see, just like I know that, he knows that. And so when he's not able to get you into that sexual position so easily, he pulls out the big guns. I think I'm falling in love with you. And remember, I love you can be everything from a casual greeting to a lifelong exclusive commitment of marriage. We're going to die together. But when a woman who's presently interested in a man hears, I love you, you know what you're hearing? You're hearing lifelong commitment. You're not rationalizing that I love you can be greeting from people that you're close to on the job, that you don't have any real personal relationship with outside of the job, to somebody you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and everything in the middle. Love, the term love has various meanings. And when you look at the biblical Greek words for love, it means multiple different things. Love means friendship, philia. That's the Greek term. I love you. I see you as a friend. I love you. The term love could mean I see you as a friend. I love you. I tell my friends, I love you. Well, y'all know me. I'm an old man, 100% heterosexual man. So I don't mean nothing other than I love you. You're my homie. I love you, man. God bless you. Then there's another word, eros, in the Greek, which means sexual. I love you could mean I want to have sex with you. And then there's the term agape, which is that God kind of, that God generated love that creates marriages even, you know what I mean? Gives us the capacity to love someone exclusively and unconditionally. So when a man just says to you, I think I love you, what does he actually mean by that? But before you stop to actually get that information, you run off with the wild idea, oh, he means lifelong commitment. He probably means I want to get in the middle of the bed with you and have sex with you tonight. You think it's for life and it's just for tonight. If you go to show you how fickle this term love is, if you look in 2 Samuel 13, we look at verses 15 and 17, we see the story of David's two kids by two different women, his son Amnon and his daughter Tamar. Amnon had a lust for Tamar that was just unbelievable. So much so that he compromised her. He used his dad, he used everybody to isolate Tamar into his home, and then he raped his own half-sister. The Bible says he loved her so much it made him sick. But after he had sex with her, the Bible says he hated her. And the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love that he thought he had for her. So a lot of times a man is telling you, and that's found in 2 Samuel 13, 15 through 17, he hated her so much after he had the sex that he commanded his servant to throw this woman out of my house and lock the door. Because a lot of times when a man tells you, I love you, he's just saying, I have a strong lust for you and I want to get you in the middle of the bed and I want to do things to you and once I'm done with that, I want you to go on about your business. I know I've worked on this for 2 months trying to get you to the bed. And so since nothing else has worked, I love you. And then you really do. I really do. I really do. Y'all talking about two different things. So when a man says to you, I love you, or I think I love you, I think the wise queen conscious woman will ask, letter A, okay, that's awesome to hear. Define love for me. What do you mean by love? Like a man love a woman. Well, no, I don't know, because a man can love a woman in a lot of different ways. Define what you mean when you say you think you love me. You've thought about it. You say you think you love me, so it means you thought about it. You're thinking about it. So how do you define it? Letter B. What do you think you love about me? What is it about me that you think you love? Letter C. Have you ever loved anyone else before? I know. Number three. These are statements that men will make, or questions they'll ask you, that are loaded and intended to deceive. You got to be wise enough to recognize and wise enough to know how to respond. Number three, he'll say to you, I've never met a woman like you before. Have you ever heard that before? I've never met a woman like you before. Some of y'all on here right now can testify that you heard that multiple times, and every time it ended up in a relationship you wish you had never even given the brother the time of day. It's because it's one of the most common lines. I've never met a woman like you before. Now, why does a man say this? This is designed to search for the gullible nature of low self-esteem in a woman that would crave validation and quickly lowers defenses through flattery. As a woman, as a queen conscious woman, you should always be on guard when a man switches to flattery. Compliments, great. But a man is just constantly all day long flattering. There's no good behind that. There's absolutely no good behind that. So, when a man tells you, I've never met a woman like you, he's flattering you. He's flattering you. If you go to Proverbs 26 and 28, it says, a lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it, and a flattering mouth worketh ruin. You got to always be on your guard when a man begins to tell you everything you want to hear. What woman doesn't want to hear? I've never met a woman like you. You're greater than any woman that I've ever come in contact with. What woman doesn't want to hear that? But how many men are actually sincere when they say that? How often is that statement actually true? How often is that statement intended to break down your defenses and to open you up where you've been guarded? Usually, when a man really thinks a woman is extraordinary, listen to this very carefully, he doesn't necessarily say it so quickly. He demonstrates it in behavior. When a man really believes that you're it, he's never met a woman like you before, he's not always quick to say it. The reason we don't want to say it as men is because the last thing we want to do as men is to lose our emotional footing when it comes down to a woman. You see, as men, we guard our hearts from loving. We try to prevent loving at all cost. So when a man really finds a woman that he thinks he can go there with, that can, move him off of his hard stance against being vulnerable, he's not quick to give her that information. Because as men, if I don't know if you've paid attention, as bad as you all have it when your hearts are broken, when we get our hearts broken, we have it 4 times worse. It's because we tried everything we could to not love. And when we do love and it does not work, it literally crushes us. So a man that is sincere when he says, I've never met a woman like you, he's not quick to say it. Because he's trying to undo these feelings. He's trying to avoid these feelings. Come on now. He doesn't even want you to necessarily know he feels that way because it makes him vulnerable. A guy that wants to deceive you, is a man that will say quickly, I've never met a woman like you. Because when a man really thinks a woman is extraordinary, he does not say it so quickly. He demonstrates it in his behavior. And what does that behavior look like? If a man really thinks that you are, you surpass all of the other women in his life, you're going to see all the other women in his past, you're going to see he's going to be exceptionally consistent. You're going to be looking for you're going to be looking for inconsistencies, but he's going to be so consistent. It's going to be baffling. He's going to be generous. Men are generous with the women that they really esteem and value at the highest levels. They're not out there talking about 50-50. They're not at the table figuring up the bill. Okay, this your part. This your part. This my part. No. When a man feels like I've never met a woman like this, he wants to provide for her. He's going to be exceptionally attentive. He's going to pay attention to you. He's going to enjoy talking to you, having real conversations. He's not going to be shifting the conversation to sexual, trying to find a way in to, shoot his shot for the bedroom. And then he's going to give you non-sexual affection. Affection like, being a gentleman, opening doors for you, pulling out chairs for you, non-sexual affection. Fact about it, the more a man esteems you, the less sexual energy he will demonstrate towards you. Because when a man esteems you highly, he respects you. And he does not want to mislead you to believe that he's here for anything other than a real relationship. So if you look in Mark chapter 7 and verse 6, this is the Passion Translation. It says, Jesus replied, "You're hypocrites. How accurately did Isaiah prophesy about you phonies when he said, these people honor me with their words, while their hearts run far away from me." Just because a man tell you, I've never met a woman like you, that doesn't mean that that's true. That's words. You got to look at this brother's actions. Now, here's some rebuttal questions. When a man says to you, I've never met a woman like you, what kind of women do you normally meet? Letter B, what's so different about me? Letter C, why are these things, once he lays out for you, what's so different about you? Why are these things so important to you? See, a man that is really sincere is not going to run from the questioning. If you want to separate the men from the boys, the pretenders from the contenders, Just ask questions. Now watch this. Don't ask questions like, you're a police investigator interrogating and, already accusing the person of being guilty. You're gonna maintain a smile, a very feminine tone, very relaxed energy, but you're just going to ask questions because deceptive men are not going to hang around a woman that is constantly asking questions. Deceptive men like women who don't ask questions and who are easily managed emotionally. They can steer them where they want them to go um, without a whole lot of questions. Here's number 4. Yeah, and I know a lot of you all have heard this one. You've heard this one a lot. Here we go. Number 4. Number 4. Number 4. I think you could be wifey. I think you could be wifey. A man will tell a woman, I think you could, girl, I think you could be wifey. Because to a woman that desires a husband, it sounds like this man said, listen to me carefully now, you are my wife. When the reality is the man did not say, you are my wife. He said, I think you could be wifey. Vast difference between could be versus are. But when you're not listening with intentional ears, it will sound to you like a marriage proposal. I think you could be wifey has gotten more women into soul ties that never led to the altar. You have women that are up in their 50s, heading for 60, been tied up with men all of their youth, never got to the altar because men said, I think you could be wifey. Number one, your husband is not thinking you're wifey. He knows you're wifey. When I called Lisa back, I didn't call saying, I think you my wife. I called and said, you're my wife. God told me you're my wife and I want you to consider it. And she said yes. But how many of you have heard that and your broken consciousness made you hear, he said, I'm his wife. When all he said was, I think you could be wifey. Now, if y'all went to a court of law and you testified that he said to me, and the recordings rather stated where he's saying, I think you could be wifey, you can't sue that man because there's nothing definitive about that. He's saying, I think. Why would you conclude that this is anything definitive? When a man seems to define a woman as wife, watch this, here's why he throws it out there. When a man defines a woman as wife or wifey material, you know what happens? She naturally begins to function as such, even without a commitment or a covenant. So a man will say to you, I think you could be wifey. Now, here you've been wanting to be a wife. You've been knowing you are a wife. You just been waiting on a husband. And so now he threw it out here. I think you could be wifey. Now all your defenses have dropped again. And so now you all up in the middle of the bed and you got this soul tie now and you just having sex like you are his wife. You don't even have a promise ring. There you're cooking. Now he done moved in your house with you. Got, you doing everything. You cooking, you cleaning. He going to he just went and got him another car. You paying for some of that. Based on a statement he made 4 years ago, I think you could be wifey, and you don't even have an engagement yet. I like what John 4:18 and 19 says, for thou hast had 5 husbands. Jesus is talking to that woman at the well, and he's revealing some things to her. That woman was broken. And listen to what Jesus lays out for her. He says, "For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. In that saidst thou truly." The woman saith unto him, "Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet." She was tied with a man at that point that wasn't her husband. And when a man throws that out there, "I think you could be wifey," he's trying to get you to behave like a wife without signing a contract. You're like a football player. You like a multi-million-dollar football talent that goes on the field to play without a signed contract. So if you get injured to a point that you can't play no more, they ain't got to pay you nothing. A man telling you, "I think you could be wifey," is trying to get you to perform at a certain level without a contract. Because a man that actually views you as wife behaves like a husband. And when a man knows that you're his wife and he's your husband, you know what he does? He makes you, as the old folk would say, an honest woman. He's not going to just be laying in the bed with you, rolling through the sheets every night and not have a ring on your finger. He immediately takes steps to take you off of the market. If a man really believes you're a wife, he takes the steps to take you off of the market. First step to taking you off of the market is that engagement ring. And then he wants everybody to know it. So he not telling you in private, "I think you could be wifey," and then you ain't showing up nowhere on his social media. You haven't met his friends, you haven't gone to his church, you haven't gone to his job. Nobody knows that you're wifey but you and him. Come on now, you smarter than that. Here's some rebuttal questions for a man that will tell you, "I think you could be wifey." What are your standards for a wife? What do you mean when you say a wife? You think I'm wifey. What are your standards for wife? Letter B, what do you think a husband is? If you're saying I'm wifey, you're saying your husband. What is a husband? Letter C, when did you plan to ask me to marry you? Since you think I'm your wife, did you have a plan? You had plans on asking me to marry you? I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. You know what my spirit feeling. If and he says, okay, well, if he says, well, I was going to ask you, not long from now, then your next question is going to be letter D. If I say yes, when would you like to get married? See? Because husbands are going to be able to tell you what the standards of a wife are. They're going to tell you what a husband is as they see it. They're going to tell you when they plan on asking you. And then they're going to have some general idea of some framework of time. They're not going to be talking about, well, I just wanted to have this conversation with you. Then, we can figure the rest out. No. We can't figure the rest out. That's like going down there buying a car, signing the papers, paying the money, and then the dealership tell you, well, we'll figure out when we're gonna deliver it. We just want to take care of this business, and we'll let you know when we'll let you know when we're gonna actually deliver. No. Okay, number five. Here's a big one here. Here's a big one that a lot of you all have heard. Let's take our time. Let's just take our time. See, this is a man's way of stalling a relationship that he has no intention of moving forward in. Now, he may want to stay in the status quo and keep reaping the benefits in the status quo, but he doesn't want to advance it. He doesn't want to marry you. He want to sleep with you. He want to be able to come through every Friday and you fix him dinner and he have sex with you and all that, y'all Netflix and chill, but he doesn't want to marry you. So when you start looking like you're pushing the issue, he says, let's take our time. In most cases, he's trying to find a way out, especially if you continue to push. And this usually happens. A man doesn't throw this "let's take our time" thing out there until after he has experienced the woman sexually. Men don't start talking about let's take our time until after they've had you sexually. You see, what he does is he wins you with calculated conversation. All of this is in the father-daughter talk. I lay the game out for you. He wins you with calculated conversation. He becomes your emotional addiction, overdosing you with time, being the perfect gentleman, playing the character you need him to play to win you over. And then once you're won over and the soul tie is developed, he then avoids real commitment at all cost. See, but any man that's talking about let's take our time is not husband material. Because the Bible says in Ecclesiastes 3:1, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. If there's a purpose for this relationship, there's a time frame within that everything must occur. A wise woman does not allow a man to have an undetermined amount of time to progress the relationship. The trial period has to have an expiration date. If you want to be a wife, you don't sit around there and spend 18 months with a man that can't be definitive with you about if he wants to marry you, when he wants to marry you. No, 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 no. You over 30 years old. You over 28 years old even. And you there with a man, you gave this man a year and a half, you know you want to be a wife, and this man has no clarity about if you his wife, if he wants to be married, when he wants to be married. Babe, you got to pick your little heart up and move on. Sometimes you have to let your heart break for your soul to heal. You got to move on from this because 18 months can turn into 18 years. And here's some of the questions that you probably need to rebut with. What exactly are you trying to figure out? Let's take our time. I'm trying to figure some stuff out. What exactly are you trying to figure out? What don't you know about me? You know. And at this point, you're not smiling. You're looking very seriously because you're prepared. Don't ask these questions unless you're prepared to pull the trigger, though, because then people begin to see you as a joke. Letter B, how much more time do you need to make a decision? Well, I don't know. See, then that's your clue. Get your grip. Let's get up out of here. Go to the therapist so they can walk you through. Go to the church where Rev can pray for you and help you through, but it's time to go. You ain't got no more business hanging around this dude right here. This dude here is a time waster. And then number 6, and I'm done. Here's some real game right here. I don't think I'm good enough for you. They throw this out on you when they have used your life, used your body, wasted your time, wasted your money, broken your heart, and they knew from the beginning that they never planned on a real lifelong commitment. They throw that, I don't think I'm good enough for you. This usually happens after a man has run game for a long time and is now trying to back out. And watch this. The only dignified, queen conscious response to this lie of a line is okay. Okay. I don't think I'm good enough. Okay. All right. And then just start moving about, picking up your stuff. Yeah, okay, put that over there. Okay. What you doing? What you doing? I'm out of here. You said you ain't good enough for me? Okay, I gotta accept your word. See, when a man runs this type of game, you have to protect your dignity. Your dignity is your responsibility. And if a man tells you something as asinine as, I don't think I'm good enough for you, he is disrespecting you to your face. You can't go back and forth without further draining your self-esteem. So your only dignified response is, okay, I'm done. I'm out. You ain't got to say that much. Just, okay. All right, I got it. When a man tells you this, agree with him immediately. Save your emotion for your private time. Don't get emotional in front of him. He doesn't deserve that. There are no questions to ask behind this, just a reply. Okay. If you would just take and pay attention to the things we've laid out here today, and I guess I know I could have gone on and on and on because the game is real. You'll be well on your way to being able to manage yourself as a woman relationally. And you know what you will find will be the outcome of this? You will waste little to no time at all with men that don't deserve you, which will make you available for the men that do deserve you. When you study these things, you will also begin to hear the difference in the language of a deceptive, unhealthy man versus the language of a healthy man. And so my prayer is that you've gotten something that you can take away from this and live your life in a healthier, more aware state. May I pray for you? Father God, my prayer today is that you would just supernaturally touch the hearts and the lives of every woman that would hear this. And God, I thank you for healing every broken place, opening their understanding, dear God, helping them to digest and to comprehend the things that I've shared with them today. And I thank you for victory in every area of their lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Now listen, I've enjoyed this time. Go by my website, rcblakes.com. Sign up for my mailing list. Check out all of the online programs while you're there. Don't forget to go by Amazon. Pick up all of my books. My latest book relative to understanding the biblical perspectives of narcissism, me, my, mine, queenology, the father-daughter talk. Some of the stuff I talked about today comes out of the father-daughter talk relative to understanding the games men play. Thank you, all of you that have sown into our lives. Lisa and I love you. We thank God for you and we appreciate you. What am I missing? If you need counseling, look in the description. There's a link for BetterHelp Counseling. If you engage that link and you explore it and decide that this is something that may be able to help me, if you use that link, BetterHelp will give you 10% off of the cost of their counseling. And in return, because I recommended them to you, they will make a deposit into RC Blakes Ministries. Now, hey, just know I love you. You're on top. You're going high. Your God has more in store for you. And so as I always say to you, we, Lisa and I, we will see you at the top. God bless you. Until next time.
We here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you for spending this time with us today. RC and Lisa are always honored to have you with us. Don't forget to reach out to us by visiting our website at www.rcblakes.com. While you're there, you may join our mailing list and receive a free download of The Laws of Manifesting Your Vision by RC Blakes. Also look at all of the online programs by RC. You may find all books written by RC and Lisa. Once again, all of us here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And as we always say, see you at the top.